Human beings have powers. Human beings have powers. Our souls are all equal. If our souls are enthused, filled with spirit, filled with the highest spirit, our powers can be used for excellent good. The male powers. The male powers are the voice, what you agree with, and your family commitment. Who you commit yourself to. Who you commit yourself to be with, to care for, to care about. In a decent teaching by Miles Monroe, he outlined that a woman is looking for family commitment. And if she perceives that family commitment is being cut off, or family commitment is going in another direction other than her, she may begin cutting herself off from one who is not faithful to family commitment. The woman is also more easily deceived by troubling spirits. The woman is also described as weaker so she is more susceptible to believing a lie and saying, you are not being faithful to family commitment, therefore I'm cutting you off. Or therefore I am seeking another to make a family commitment with me. So the voice of the man and the faithfulness of the man and the attention and the communication of the man is a power, and he can abuse that power by sowing his communications too broadly and not faithfully enough to the woman and the home. It is written, the man who does not care for his own constituents is worse than an unbeliever. And in the example of Abigail and Nabal, read that story, read it well, read it over and over again, and understand it. Abigail is actually one of the highest images of a woman who is in powerful relationship with the highest spirit. Many people defer to the picture of Deborah, who was a judge and a leader, but she was so wise that she said, I will not, if you're asking me to be a voice of leadership, I will not do so without full blessing and oversight of the male human beings, implying that she knows that we are one organism, and she is designed to be operating in direct, clear, obvious connection with male human beings. A man's power is his voice, his faithfulness, his family commitment, and his seed. This is a physical wonder. Life is in the blood. Life is in the blood. When I was awakened to God at almost 40 years old, I had had a conversation with a Jewish guy, and he said, well, when you grow up a Jewish kid, you're told that your seed has the blood in it. It's your life. So you don't fool around with it. You don't treat it casually. You don't eat it. And remember, even in the covenant of Noah, which arises in Acts chapter 15, Jerusalem covenant, it was agreed, it seemed right to the Holy Spirit and to us, that we should put no other burden on the Gentiles other than to refrain from eating the meat of strangled animals or abused animals, animals with the blood still in it, or the eating of blood, and to keep the marriage bed simple, pure, one man, one woman for life. So even in the new covenant, how your animals are handled is important. If you're using them for food, we're called to a high responsibility of knowing the origin, source, and handling of the animals that we're eating. That's pretty heavy. So man's power is primarily his voice, his commitment, and his seed. There's an old Eastern saying, God's secret is man. Man's secret is power. A man can use his seed. If a man had 20 women, he could use his seed to begin building a city of human beings. He could make many children. That's power. Could populate a region with 20 wives. God's secret is man. Man's secret is power. Woman's power is body. The reason why in advertising and all those billboards, you see primarily the female human body, because it is the delight and comfort of the men and the children. When the woman comes in the room, the men feel better, not because of lust or wrong attitudes, just because it feels better. The woman completes the picture. And when the woman comes in the room, the little child is like, "Bah, it's mommy body. Pick me up." The woman's power is body. Man can abuse his power. He can fool around with his faithfulness and his commitment and his voice and his communications and his vows. And he can fool around with his seed. Woman's power is body. A woman and her body is a secret weapon. And in some ways, it is designed, truly designed, to be under the sheltering care and love of a father, a husband, a brother, a son, a grandfather, so that the woman is not shoved out in the world to be caught and used and dragged around, manipulated and brainwashed, and used as a siren, a magnet to wreck people. A sweet and wonderful woman can be brought into a business that's doing evil and making money for itself greedily. A woman can be dragged in and brainwashed and used as a billboard or a greeter to bring people into an atmosphere that is actually stealing from them and doing them harm. And it's happening everywhere. People aren't aware of it. So abuse of power. A person who has a lot of spiritual education can do a whole lot of fancy Bible studies and abuse their power, as it is written in 2 John verses 8 to 11. If you rush ahead with your favorite doctrine, if you rush ahead with miracle signs and wonders, if you rush ahead with your salvations and such, and do not bring all of the responsibilities and the way that we are to interface with God that Jesus taught to the apostles, if you're just bringing your favorite thing to talk about or your favorite thing to do, and you're not bringing the whole of Jesus' teaching, you are called one who is doing a wicked work. Wicked work. This is serious. If you say you belong to church and you are not getting together in a home with families together, and first of all, cleansing your consciences and dealing with the things that are hidden inside, talking about them. If you're not doing that before communion time, you're not actually in the Holy of Holies of the New Covenant that Jesus taught us to do, with closed doors. No visitors, just those that are willing to die for Yeshua. Those that have been immersed in water and have renounced the world. If you have a lot of spiritual knowledge, you can be abusing your power. You can be using your power to bring people around you but you're not fully feeding them or training them. This is terrible. You need to train them in the use of the fabric. You need to train them in the going out in an outreach team every day. You need to train them in the watches of prayer. You need to train them in the detailed truth of the morning prayer for the world and the evening cleanup prayer before we go to sleep. You need to be training them in the dangers of American excesses and riches, as written all through James. That applies to us. We actually have to with a great sober evaluation, judge ourselves in the stations that we are in. We are the rich. And we should be deeply concerned about how we expend our time and our resources. Deeply concerned. This life is meant to be shared, and Father says to me, if you people are willing to live like refugees and immigrants and truly share space and operate together as an organism, you will remain spiritually safe. But if you operate like all the ones around you, isolated, comfortable, focused on your favorite little things, not taking upon yourself the problem of interacting with others and the problem of conscience cleansing honesty times led by the men. If you're not willing to do those things, you have not joined the way of life that Jesus taught. You may be just barely saved by the skin of your teeth, like it says in 1 Corinthians 3. You're going to build with gold, silver, and precious stones. That takes emotional sacrifice. You actually have to be willing to do things that feel like torture and discomfort to you in order to follow Yeshua. Abusing power is an easy thing for a man to do, for a woman to do, and for a person who has spiritual information, it is very easy to abuse that power by not giving all of the responsibilities, but rather doing those things that draw people's attention to you. Abuse of power is something that will be judged. Discern what your power is. And women, be deeply concerned. Not afraid, not ashamed, but sober and concerned. Be constantly checking in. Do you think I'm creating spiritual troubles? Am I handling my woman powers appropriately? Stuff like that. We need to look out for one another. We are not an adversarial bunch. We are an operating organism. In a car, you can't expect a tire to be a steering wheel. A tire is completely different. It has different characteristics. It has different powers and strengths. And there are some things that a tire cannot do. A tire cannot be a steering wheel. You need one steering wheel. You need 4 tires. There are ways that things are put together. Our souls are all equal, but we are put in different job descriptions. Meditate on these things, teach them to your children, and speak interactively of them often. It's not rocket science. There are some simple basic precepts, and they need to be repeated. What are the strengths of a male? What are the weaknesses of a male? What are the strengths of a woman? What are her powers? What are her weaknesses? And how can her power be abused? Sweet stuff. Go for it. Be the amazing family.